This is Fam Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air for the first time with Cam Awesome. And we're really happy to talk to you today. Um, so, so one of the things we want to talk to you about is, your name. But before we get to that, and your name change, but we'll let people know we are a featured podcast on the Newsly platform. We are going to be on there later tonight. You can listen to us on Newsly. And one of the things about listening to us on Newsly is that you can stop scrolling and keep on listening. So you can go check out our coupon code GHOST and get 1 month free premium subscription. And so check that out, and you'll be glad you did. And again, our podcast will be on Newsly later tonight. And I want to thank you again for being on the Family Electric Go show today. So how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's a good day, man. Thank you for
That's
having me.
awesome. So one of the things we're going to talk to you about, like, why did you legally change your last name to Awesome?
I didn't just change my last name to Awesome. I changed my middle name to the letter F. So Cam F. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I did it in 2013. Yeah, Cam F. Awesome. You gotta stress the F. I did it in 2013 because changing your last name to Awesome is essentially a face tattoo. It's a commitment to whatever you're doing now. There's no going back. And I did that for a few reasons. One, it forces me to go in whichever direction I'm going. I have to go hard. I can't get a normal job with the last name Awesome. It's just, that's not going to happen. Second reason is, and I wasn't able to verbalize this until recently, but I found. Here's I'll ask. What is the opposite of confidence?
Well, probably insecurity.
Close. Humility.
Oh, humility. Yeah. That's probably better.
So once I realized what humble is, do you have your phone on you? Can you Google the definition of humble?
Well, it's actually turned off to not interfere with my Wi-Fi signal.
Okay. All right. So and I'll look up the definition of humble. And once I realized what the definition of humble was, I decided to stop being humble. So the definition of humble is having or showing low or modest estimate of one's own importance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you have children?
Yeah, I have a daughter. She's 23.
Would you wish humility on her?
No, I think she should try to be as awesome as possible. And I always tell her that she's a graphic artist, and I'm always telling her everything she does is awesome. For real.
Yes.
I mean, because I want to build her confidence up, and then I show my friends and stuff, and they're like, right, it's your daughter, and everybody always wants to say, yeah, everybody's daughter's awesome, but guess what, Keith, like, your daughter is awesome.
And the thing is, we want our kids to be awesome. We want our kids to reach their fullest potential. We want our kids to be great.
Mm.
Why wouldn't we want that for ourselves? And could you be great while being humble? I don't believe you can.
No, I think if you look at Muhammad Ali, I think I totally see where you're going, because I think Ali challenged the world when he was going around saying he was the greatest. I remember, I'm a child of the 70s, growing up with that image of a black man so confident that he could go do these press conferences and say, I'm a pretty man. I'm awesome. I'm the best. And like, I thought that was like part of, like, to me, the kind of not just the Black Power movement, the idea when black people started to love each other and they were wearing afros and dashikis, and just the kind of idea that black is beautiful, right? That you could go out and say that you were beautiful, to say that you were awesome, to say that you have that. So I'm kind of seeing through my lens. I don't see a problem with that, because I remember Ali.
Yes. And Barry, I get a lot of pushback on this whole humility idea because people have been so conditioned to be humble. Now, the whole concept of being humble in the eye of the Lord, sure. But you're not the Lord,
Mhm.
bro. I don't gotta be humble to you. So when
Yeah,
people
yeah.
hear that I changed my last name to Awesome, they're like, "Oh, you must think highly of yourself." You would be correct. I think I'm awesome. But just because, let's say I think I'm up here, right? If you're down here, what you want me to do is humble myself, because the root word of humble is the Latin root word is lowly. You want me to come down to your level.
Oh, so you want to bring yourself down or
That's what being
lower.
humble is. Being humble is bringing yourself down. What I want to do is I want to bring you up where I am. I believe the true definition of
Mhm.
humility is raising other people up. I'm not going to lower myself to make anybody else feel comfortable. So I decided to set some
Well, I
really big
think
goals
that's
for myself and believe in myself.
well, I think that's what one of the things I did when I got into podcasting, people ask me like, "Why do you think you deserve to do that?" And the thing is, it's kind of like you have to have that kind of belief. Like I'm a musician, I'm a producer, right? And every musician, when you go on stage, you have to believe you're awesome or you're never going to perform, right? You have to have self confidence. And it's part of the nature of being a creative or an actor or a musician. In order to do the art, you have to believe in yourself. And you usually have to believe. And a lot of people say, oh, these people, artists, they're all arrogant, but, I think athletes and artists, we all have to have that certain level or we'd never be willing to go out in front of people if we didn't feel that we deserve to be able to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. You got to feel yourself. And
Yeah. So
yeah,
I totally feel what you're doing. I get it because in order to be a musician, we have to do that.
yeah, you got to be your own biggest fan. Ain't nobody
Yep.
going to believe in you until you believe in yourself.
Yeah. You have to have that. And people say, well, how can they have that stage presence? Well, I think the stage presence that a Beyonce has, the stage presence that Prince had, the stage presence that any great artist has, a Nat King Cole, the reason they can do it is they have to do what you're saying. They legally changed their name to awesome in their mind in order to be able to be Nat King Cole, to be Michael Jackson, to be Prince, and to jump on that stage and own it. How do you do that? Like, not a lot of people can do it because they don't believe in themselves. They don't do that. They don't love themselves at that level.
Yeah. I feel honored. I'm in the conversation with those folks. Okay, cool. I'm in there with Prince and Beyonce. Thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Well, it's just the way I think the way people have to think is like every human being has a right to believe, as a citizen of the planet, that they belong here and they're awesome. Because everybody as an individual is, and I try to find the beauty in everybody I work with and talk to because that's the point. And and to try to a lot of people like to play the game to denigrate people or take people down or do top down. I'm about expansion. The name of my record label is Expansive Sound. So what does that mean? It's like I want to expand the sound. I don't want to niche the sound. I want it to be everything it can be.
I love it.
Yeah, so I totally get where your mindset is because I believe that's a mindset that people need to have because there's a lot of negativity in the environment today. A lot of people, playing all kinds of, dozens games on people, and it's like, you know what? Like you got to love yourself in order to get out there and don't let somebody playing the dozens on you or doing this or denigrating you. Like you stand up for who you are.
Yeah, and even speaking on the negativity part, it's so easy to find the negativity, but I hear people say like social media is negative, and I have a different view of that. I
Mhm.
don't think social media is negative. I think people are negative, and they're blaming social media because the way your timeline works, Instagram, every fifth post is an ad, right? So you don't have control out of 20% of your timeline. That's just ads.
Mhm.
But Instagram is worth billions of dollars. So your 20% of your timeline is worth billions of dollars. What value are you getting out of the other 80%? And it's only going to be based off who you follow. So if you
Mhm.
follow Waffle House fights, you're going to see Waffle House fights.
You get what
If you
you
follow the news, you're going to see a bunch of things that aren't relevant to you. Like, so I follow dogs wearing people clothes.
get.
I open up Instagram. It's a golden doodle holding a briefcase. It's adorable.
Yes.
That's what I choose to see because I want to cultivate my own reality. So when I speak about cultivating your own reality, being conscious of what you consume, not just your food.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
What are you listening to? What's that background music? Because I used to listen to, I grew up on mixtape Wayne. So I listened to, I didn't realize the anger and the misogyny and all this type of stuff that was in the music that's, playing in the back of my head constantly. Yeah. And once I started to change the things I listen to, I changed the things on my timeline. Here's the reason why I don't watch the news. And here's why I think no one should watch the news. Here's what, in the last 7 days, have you taken direct action from information you received from the news? Chances are that answer is no. Yep. So that is no longer information, that is entertainment. And why will you entertain yourself with constant negativity?
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, I mean, being a musician, what I like to see is like I like to experience because I interview people, and I primarily usually interview creative people. Is I follow a lot of merging new artists, multiple genres, not just hip hop. I'm talking about like progressive rock, jazz, fusion, experimental musicians. Like so, my feed full of creativity. It's full of people doing something and not just yelling the B word or what this. People who are actually doing like really awesome bass playing like Bootsy Collins or going watching like Coltrane and Davis, stuff like that, right? Stuff like Funkadelic or stuff like Hendrix. I get Hendrix feeds of rare Hendrix stuff, of Jimmy Page stuff, of Stevie Wonder stuff, because that's where my head's at. So I go in and it's beautiful. I'm seeing all this really beautiful music because people have to understand, like I'm a Buddhist, so I believe like what you put in is what you get out, right? So the law of a cause and effect. So if you put out negativity, you get back negativity. You put out positivity, you get positivity. That's where my head's at. That's what I try to do.
I love that.
And some people don't realize, when they're getting all this negativity coming in, then they wonder why they're angry. They wonder why things are going wrong. Why they don't have a good mindset, and they're not thinking about like the future. And they're like, oh, everything's terrible. It's like being on the plan that every day you can breathe is a good day. Every day that you can wake up and get up and do something is a good day. It's like, but the way the world is, they try to make it think it's coming to the end.
Yeah, it's just the beginning. That's what'll get you to click. That's what get you to click. That'll get you to watch.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, so you got to figure out like whose game are you playing? Why don't you change the game and make it your own game?
Yep.
It's being a content creator is that I go and decide what I'm going to do. I don't go look at the top 20. I don't go look at the top 100. If I feel like playing something like Kind of Blue, right? If I want to play something like Stevie Wonder Intervisions, if I want to go play some Herbie Hancock or some Sun Ra or think about Monk, Thelonious Monk, I want to get in that kind of mode. I want to get to a higher level of capability, right? And like a Bob Marley, like I want to be in a mindset that I don't have to worry about what's going on today. I can actually it's like I'm going to create what's the future. The future is thinking about creativity and being positive and going forward.
Love that.
So, yeah. So let me talk to you about like what led you to become a boxer, because that's where it started, right? Or did it start before that?
No, it's what kind of led me to be a boxer was actually it started before that. Back in the day, when I was a kid, everybody I knew with a job was broke. Right? The only person more broke with a person with a job is someone with 2 jobs. So growing up, when I was a kid, I was like, my goal was I never want to have a job. I never want to have a conventional. I want to be on TV. Why do I want to be on TV? Because I saw MTV Cribs, and the only people on MTV Cribs were rappers, actors, and artists.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be on TV, and I want to be a performer. And I didn't know how to do that. My parents didn't know either, and I never really vocalized it. But when I was 16, I joined the boxing gym because, 16 years old, girls are starting to become important, and I realized I didn't have the body for the girls I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So, and nothing motivates a young man more than that. So I went to the boxing gym just for the purpose of doing jumping jacks, jumping rope, hitting the bag. I don't want to fight. I don't want to learn anything. And I went to the gym so much that I lost the weight and I got in better shape than the other boxers. And the coach said, "Hey, do you want to spar? You're in better shape than ever. You want to spar?" And I was like, "Oh, my mom's not going to let me." And everyone laughed. I was like, I'm joking. I'll get my mouthpiece. And I had to spar. And because I was so afraid to get hit, I developed defense. And something went off in my mind that I realized and this is how the scoring system works. If you hit me with a punch, you get a point. If I hit you with a punch, I get a point. And I figured out if you don't hit me, you can't win.
Oh, you can't get points. Yeah.
So what I did is I fought at the heaviest weight class. I'm 6'1". I'm not a big guy, but I fought at super heavyweight so I can fight guys who are 280 pounds, big guys, because their thought process is they hit me once, they're going to knock me out. But I know if they miss a bunch of punches, they're going to be tired. So within my first 2 years of boxing, I figured out that most heavyweights are lazy. I can outwork them. Like, I'm not the fastest, I'm not the strongest, I'm not the smartest, but I will bury you in work.
Oh, yeah, you would just wear them out.
You don't keep up. So I literally run away from boxers until they get tired, and I just don't stop throwing punches. And all of my knockouts I don't have many one-punch knockouts. I'm not a strong guy. But I overwhelm you with so many punches that you can't defend yourself, and the ref stops it.
Oh, wow.
So once I figured this out, within 2 years, I never made a sport before, never made a team. Within 2 years of boxing, I qualified for the 2008 Olympic trials. I lost, but I realized something. I was like, oh, I'm so close to the Olympics. If I make it to the Olympics, I'm going to get a TV show. And here's my formula. 1 + 2 = 3. I am 1. You should always be your number 1. No one's going to believe in you until you believe in yourself. 1 + 2 = 3. 3 is the objective. I am 1. 3 is the objective. What is 2? 2 is everything you got to do to get to 3. Now, this is the equation that works with anything in life. Now, if you can be happy when you do number 2, you can be sad. And the reason why I call it number 2, because it's the crappy part of the job that nobody wants to do. You can be happy when you do it. You can be sad. You can be frustrated. You can be hungry. Your emotions do not matter to the mission. 1 + 2 = 3. So my mission was to be in better shape than every other boxer. Because if I was in better shape, I gave myself the best chance to win. And after I kind of figured this out and I realized I can just outwork people, and experience is everything. Because if I have 100 fights and you have 10 fights and we fight, who do you think's going to win?
Yeah, well, the person has more fights, right?
So when I realized that experience equals greatness, I understood that my first 200 fights are going to be difficult. But after 200 fights, I'm going to be fighting people who don't have as many fights as I do, and my experience is going to take over. So I won nationals in 2008, 9, 10, 2011. Then 2012, I won the United States Olympic trials to represent the U.S. in the London Olympics. And that's when I became the first boxer to ever be suspended and kicked off the Olympic team for not filling out paperwork.
Oh, just paperwork? That stinks.
Drug testing paperwork. I left the country and didn't tell the drug testing agency. I went to go fight in a tournament in Azerbaijan, a place I've been to 4 times but cannot spell without spell check. But I forgot to tell the drug testing agency I was leaving. And even though I tested negative in Azerbaijan that same week by that same drug testing organization, I left the country and I forgot to tell them. Now, this is not even a real offense, but it was a few months after Lance Armstrong went on Oprah.
Oh.
They made an example out of a few athletes.
Oh, because of that.
I was one of them. So I was super depressed. I was mad at myself. I was embarrassed because everybody thought I was going to the Olympics, and then all of a sudden I'm not. Why? If you read the ESPN headlines, I failed to meet drug test requirements.
But that's not failing the blood drug test.
Don't nobody read the body of the article?
Yeah, people don't read. That's a problem today. People don't read.
So when people look at me, they look at me like, oh, this is the dude who failed the drug test. And because of that, I felt embarrassed. I was depressed, and I gained a lot of weight. I wasn't leaving my house, and I lost a bet, and I had to be vegan for 28 days. And I didn't want to lose this bet, but I didn't realize that the diet also entailed sobriety, which meant this is the first time during my suspension I had to deal with my problems without the aid of alcohol. And after detoxing for 28 days, I lost 32 pounds in that 28 days. I was going for walks. I was feeling better about myself. I was becoming more positive. And I said, I'm never going to be vegan. Of course, I'll never be vegan, but I'm going to do it for just a little bit longer. Because I started to feel good, and I wanted my six-pack back. And I said I would be vegan until I found a reason not to be. And it's been over 10 years now. Still vegan.
Oh, wow. So you felt it helped your overall physical condition?
I'm big on energy, right? I'm big on the energy you give, the energy you receive. I'm big on energy. Now, if the animal you're eating, the last thing it did before it died was scream and cry for its life.
That's it's probably not good
energy to put in my body. Yeah. Now, I'm not opposed to hunting.
Too. Yeah, really? I get it. Yeah, I mean that's kind of an idea where they like because like the life forces you're taking in, it's again the law of cause and effect. So if you're taking in something that was a negative event, because the death of that animal was so negative, you're going to absorb that negativity, and it's not going to be good for you. Yeah. At a high level, it's a kind of high level.
These camps or these where they house these animals and they live in, which is the way. Once I found all that out, I was like, nah. So I returned to boxing after my year suspension, but I lost everything with boxing though. When I couldn't box, I realized I had no skills, I had no degrees, I had no certifications, I had no way to make money. Mm. And I said, if I return to boxing, I'm not going to leave boxing without anything. So when I return to boxing, bro, I'm going hard. I'm going to market myself as more than just an athlete. So I started doing stand-up comedy because I realized, I'm not that funny right now, but in 10 years, I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. I started emceeing vegan festivals all around the country. That's where I learned a lot about the veganism. And I also started speaking at schools everywhere I went. If I went to go fight in Dallas, Texas, I reached out to schools in Dallas, Texas. Hey, I'm not charging anything. I want to come in and speak about bullying. I started boxing because I was overweight and I was getting bullied. So I want to talk about bullying. Because what I was doing is I was building my skill set as I was the #1 boxer in the country. So I won nationals in 2013, 14, 15. As I'm traveling around the country, fighting, speaking, emceeing, doing comedy. I fight in the 2016 Olympic trials in Reno, Nevada. I perform at the Laugh Factory all week. After every fight, I go shower, I get on stage, I do a set. Wow. I win the Olympic trials, and then I lose an international competition and don't get to go to Rio. Oh, so 2008, 2012, 2016, I went after the Olympics and I didn't get it. So I decided I have the skill set now, right? I have the skill set. I'm leaving boxing. And if you remember what I said about the fights, if I have 200 fights and you have 10, who's going to win? Experience is everything. So I decided I didn't want to be a high paid speaker. I wanted to be the best speaker. And if I'm the best, somebody going to eventually pay me. So I bought a van and I lived in my van for 3 years. And the reason why I lived in my van is because I wouldn't have to spend money on hotels, rental cars, or flights. I spoke at 200 schools a year for 3 years.
3 years, wow.
While I'm doing this, I'm still boxing. I go to sign up for Team USA for the 2020 Olympics. And because it's an amateur sport, they said I can't have my speaking business and still fight for them.
Oh,
and
wow.
I put so much time to build my business, I'm not going to let my baby go.
Yeah, why would you do that?
My dad's from Trinidad and Tobago. So I flew to my dad's home country. I learned about their country. I filed for citizenship. I became a dual citizen. I fought Olympic trials. I won by knockout. I returned to the US. I was living in the van. And I finally qualified for the 2020 games. And then the pandemic happened.
Oh, then you got, because so they delayed, did they cancel? They didn't even have it?
Trinidad didn't send the team.
Oh, they didn't send the team. Oh, that sucks.
So 2008, 2012, 2016, and 2020, I went after the same goal of the Olympics. And as I said before you, I still ain't go to the Olympics yet. I wouldn't say yet.
Well, you've been trying. You've been putting the you're putting the work in. You know, the pandemic is like something nobody could kind of predict. So you know, you did what you could.
But here's the thing about and when I speak at schools and I talk to kids about goal setting, and my advice to them is set a goal that you are forced to fail. Set your goal so big that you ain't even expecting to get it, but try your hardest to get it. Because I set my goal for the Olympics. My first day in the boxing gym, my goal was the Olympics. I ain't never made a team. I'm not athletic. I don't know how to work out, but that was my goal. And I think of goals as a lighthouse. You're in the water. You see that lighthouse from a distance. You just go in that direction. You know that's the direction you're supposed to be going in. But the closer you get to that lighthouse, you're going to start to see details on that lighthouse. And your goal is going to start to look a little different than you thought it was when you started your journey. But that's no reason to turn around. So my goal was the Olympics. Actually, if I want to actually take it back, in 2008, when I won my first national championship, they gave you a form to fill out. Your height, your weight, your reach, your hometown. The last question was, what do you want out of boxing? Most people put heavyweight championship, millions of dollars, Olympic gold medal. I put to be a good role model and to have my own TV show.
Oh, wow.
This is what I wrote in 2008. And it's still up on the website. 2008, I wrote this.
Oh, it's
because
still there.
I knew what I wanted. And I thought if I won enough boxing matches, it would get me to where I wanted to go. So even though my goal was the Olympics, I didn't get it, but I did retire as the winningest boxer in U.S. history. I've won more boxing matches than anybody else. I've won 3 Olympic trials. I've won about 14 national championships. And I've been able to represent our country in over 30 other countries in international competition. So when I say set a goal so big you have to fail, you never really fail a goal if it's that big, because you get so many wins on that journey that it's not even about the lighthouse anymore.
Yeah, I totally get that, because as a musician, if you think about it, we write, hundreds, if not thousands of songs. How many songs do we really know from any musician, right? The amount of songs they write. To be a musician, everything you do, most of the time, 90% of it's going to fail, right? But you don't look at it as a failure, because it helps you along the road. So it's the same thing with all those fights. All those songs lead you to the ones that connect to your audience, right? All your fights, all the things that you put down to your goal are going to lead you to your TV show. They're going to lead you where you need to go. Because so that the people who don't ever get out of it being in their head, they're the ones who fail really, because you have to actually do something and actually see what happens to get anywhere. And if you just keep it in your headspace, it's never going to happen. It's never going to actualize.
Yep, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, totally get that. So that's stand-up comedy. That's cool. I wouldn't have thought that you would do. What made you want to do that? Did you feel like you had that kind of comic capability? Had somebody told you could, or you just felt you could do it?
No, so I have this thing of where I feel entitled. I feel entitled to anything I want, and that comes with the lack of humility. I walk around this bitch like I got white privilege. If I see something, I think it should be mine. So,
Yeah.
but I do understand that I feel entitled to have it, but I do understand how hard I have to work to get it. So when I saw, and this is real talk, in 2000, probably 1995, the show All That on Nickelodeon and Keenan and Kel, I wanted to be on Keenan and Kel. I wanted to be Keenan, Cam, and Kel. That was my goal. So when I said I wanted to be on TV, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do sketch comedy. And yeah, and I guess I got to the point where in 2012, I realized I was chasing this goal of boxing so much that I forgot about my actual love of performing. I was doing all this fighting and winning. And I was like, I'm doing this fighting and winning just to perform. And then I realized, oh, I am more afraid of getting on stage than I am of getting punched in the face.
Oh, so that became motivation.
I was avoiding my goal. I was distracting myself with boxing because if I was boxing, I didn't have to get on a stage. And as much as I'm talking about wanting to be a stand-up and about being brave, and I never pursued it. I could have gone to open mics. I didn't go to a single open mic. It was just until I couldn't box anymore. I was like, oh, maybe I should be doing the thing I'm actually passionate about. Now, as a musician, people have this thing like, oh, you're a musician? Oh, you probably barely do any work. You're probably rich.
No.
Like,
yeah, because I mean, well, for like I said, when you're writing all those songs, like a lot of times it's like you're putting all the effort into it and you don't get anything for it. So I mean, most of the time musicians, we got to work very hard. You got to play. You got to hustle. Unless you get to the top, like you're hustling all the time. So it's you do it because you love it. You don't do it because, like, if you're a musician and you're doing it long term, usually you could be lucky and be a Michael or a Prince. Most of the time, working musicians like is nowhere near that, right? They do it because they love it.
Yeah. So, and I love stand-up, but I started doing stand-up and I got to the point where I realized how the game works. You don't even have to be funny. You just have to sell tickets. And I've got boxing fans in every city. I'm not famous or anything, but in the boxing world, there's boxing gyms everywhere. They'll come out and see me. So I got to perform in comedy shows all across the country. I'm performing Laugh Factories, Hyenas, Funny Bones, improvs everywhere. I'm not making it. The most I've ever made was $40 and a bar tab. And I don't drink. So I spent all my 20s as a broke athlete. When you're on Team USA, you don't get paid. I made $12,000 a year. That's $1,000 a month. Let's say your rent is $500. Ha! Car insurance, phone bill. That's all your money. So I spent so much time as a broke athlete. I was like, I don't think I could be a broke artist too. So and weird story. I say yes to opportunities. In 2008, after I won my first national championship, some guy by the name of John Brown, sounds like a fake name, so I couldn't even Google it. He called me up. He says, hey, I saw you won national champion. I saw you won nationals. I would love for you to move to Kansas City. I'll let you live in my house a year for free so you can save some money. I'll give you a job. I'll buy you a car and I'll train you. And I was like, sure, what do you want in return? He says, well, in return, I want you to speak at all the high schools and middle schools in the area and get kids to join the nonprofit boxing gym. Because he saw that I could reach students that he couldn't. So when I said yes to this opportunity, I never even met this dude and I agreed to move in with him. I just say yes to things.
Wow.
And he said, what do you need to win? And I said, oh, I would have won more nationals already, but I just can't afford to get to the fights. He's like, well, what do you need to win? I was like, if you could pay for my plane ticket and my hotel, I'll just win nationals every year. And that was our deal. He paid for my travel, and in exchange for him paying for my flights and my hotels and everything, I would have to speak at schools all around the country. course, in Kansas City back when I was there. And I realized I didn't want to do open mic nights anymore, because you wait all night to perform 3 minutes of comedy and no one's listening. So at the end of my speech with students, I would save like 7 minutes to just try out new jokes. And I realized that students love the jokes more than the speech. And a light bulb went off in my head. Of course, I didn't like school assemblies growing up. School assemblies were boring. So I decided to I started writing jokes, and now I do a one-man show, basically a stand-up comedy show, hour long at schools. And each of the jokes have morals and messages attached to it. And it's usually about resilience, positivity, acceptance, cultural competence. And I basically do a motivational humor. So I was able to merge my passion of performing, because I'm doing one-man shows. I've got slides, I've got music, it's interactive with students. So I'm performing. And I'm a good role model.
Yeah, you're able to get the synergy between being a boxer, comic, stand-up comedian, and then motivational speaker, and then kind of like, lecturer for students. And then you were able to creatively combine that into one new thing, to like a whole vision.
Yeah. And so once I started doing that, my stage and I love performing. So that's why I started speaking at 200 schools a year. And I'm writing new jokes and I'm doing all these things. And I realized because students, they'll message you on Instagram, but they won't tell you in person. But after my speeches, teachers would come up to me and say, Cam, thank you. I really needed to hear this.
Wow.
And I was like, that wasn't for you.
It's for the kids.
But I realized adults are nothing but children with the ability to drive.
Yeah.
We're all dealing with the same issues, but some are just more pronounced as you get older. And I started to do these same speeches. Of course, I changed some of the references and everything, but it's the same kind of message I do for adults on goal setting, on resilience, on bouncing back after you fail. I've dealt with my failures in 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020. It's the idea of, if you can fail without being discouraged, success becomes inevitable.
So you were able to seg from being a lecturer at the schools to actually transforming that into being a motivational speaker, which is, now today with like what's going on with like influencers and people who are life coaches, within the podcast community, that's like the primary thing today, like life coaching, that you kind of found yourself where the hot spot is now within the podcast, social media.
I know. Here's my problem with that term, though. Motivational speaker. I know what I am. I'm a motivational speaker. I get it. But the word is tainted. Like the word spiritual.
Yeah.
Which was ruined by incense and white woman. Like, but I wish there's a better term for motivational speaker, because I want to inspire people,
well, no, you can find it like you're like kind of like I don't know, it's like a spoken word shaman. If you think of it in terms of like people get into mentor, they get into like life coaching is what people tend to do now. And I've seen a lot of people kind of get into like, well, I'm a evangelist, but I'm not like for a religion, but I believe in synthesizers. So I'm a synthesizer evangelist, right? Or I'm a positivity evangelist. So what does that mean? I'm totally into anything that's positive. I'm a shaman about like holistic health. So I'm the holistic health shaman. So like people start, figuring out ways to rebadge themselves. You know what I mean?
But the problem is I can't rebadge myself because just of branding and marketing material. I have to be clear on what I do so companies can hire me. So I'm like, all right, I'm a motivational speaker.
Yeah, because that's what they understand. When they got it on the checklist, and if you put something like "I'm a shaman," they're like, "Well, that's not on my checklist."
So I'll get over it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. So it's like, yeah, you got to fall into their confines. It's like musicians. Like everybody says like electronic music, and then you show up and it's nothing but a bunch of DJs on CDJs, right? And I play a Moog. I play Hammond B3s. I play pianos. So people don't like that's what an old school musician like a Stevie Wonder. But everybody today just thinks it's some DJ jumping up and down on a trampoline doing splits and stuff. Like no, it's like I'm not. That's not what I do. I'm a musician.
Yeah. I could see how annoying that would be.
Yeah, it's like 'cause some people think all I gotta need is my SD card and my laptop. No, I have road cases and I have roadies, and you got to bring in my Yamaha and my Moog and my Roland. You got to sound check me just like a band, right?
Yeah.
I'm not like the DJ with my laptop. No, I got a sound check
on his phone.
Yeah, everybody's just like, well, I can just load it from my phone, man. I got the whole set on my phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's cool because you kind of you self-actualized. You had that you want, you're awesome and you want to be out there, and then you made it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, like, I'm not special. Like, I'm awesome. I will say I am awesome, but I'm not special. There's nothing like I'm not athletic. Still to this day, I'm not athletic, but I was able to accomplish what I accomplished in boxing simply because I believed in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I put in the work.
One strategy.
I did all the two.
Yeah, well, you got to also strategize. Like, you think about any great athlete, there's got to be a strategy to what you're doing. You got to think it. You got to have like that chessboard game, about how are you actually reading what's going on, because you can prepare all you want, but if you don't actually read your situation, how are you going to win,
Yep. And it's not just in the ring, it's in life. This is in life and having the foresight. Do you know how crazy I looked? So in 2008, after I won my first nationals, they're like, are you going to turn pro and make millions? I was like, no, I want a TV show. So I won nationals in 2009, 2010, 2011. I win the Olympic trials. I'm suspended for a year. I can't box. They're like, Cam, are you finally going to turn pro now? No, I want a TV show. 4 Warriors. I win the Olympic trials. I don't go. Are you going to turn? Still no. I had a goal. And sometimes your decision doesn't look. No one knows your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a plan for yourself, stick with your plans. Don't listen to other people because they may not have the foresight you have. And then you start to doubt yourself. Don't doubt yourself if you know in your heart what you want to do. So my goal was to be a good role model, have my own TV show. And I knew this is the route to do it. But I got a carrot put in front of my face because winning as much as I did and having all my championships, turning pro would mean I would make potentially millions of dollars relatively easily compared to the competition I was facing. But I stuck with my plan. And of course, everyone thought I was stupid during the time. But April of last year, after 2020, I retired, right? In April of last year, after not boxing, getting in the ring for almost 2 years, I woke up with a detached retina.
Oh, wow.
I can never box again.
Oh, because of that.
Now, if I were to have turned pro, this is when my career would have stopped. And if I'm boxing pro, all I'm doing with my time is fighting, is training. I'm not learning about business. I'm not learning about bettering myself. I'm not learning about health. I'm not reading self-help books and trying to be a better partner. Nah, I'm trying to take a dude's head off.
Yeah.
And at 36, what do I have? I have the rest of my life without an income.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been a good move. Actually, like the karma put you in the right place.
Yeah. But I would say it's different now. Like, I voluntarily retired in 2020, but now that my eyes messed up and I can't box, I don't like it.
Oh, you don't like the fact that you can't.
But I'm so glad that it was my choice.
Yeah. You didn't get forced into it. Like if you had actually been doing it, it happened, then you would have been forced out.
Yeah, I'd have been heartbroken. But I left on my own accord. And anyone who's getting into fighting, because it's a dangerous sport, ask yourself these two questions. What do I want out of the sport? Because what are you trying to gain experience? Are you just trying to get Facebook likes? Are you just trying to get in better shape? Do you just want to experience it? Do you want to go to the Olympics? Think about what do you want from the sport? And the second question is very important question. What is it going to take for you to leave?
Yeah, most people probably won't think about that.
Stick around too long. I always said I'd much rather leave too early than stick around too long. Never be the last person at the party.
Yeah, that's always a problem. Because sometimes it's hard to know when you should stop something, But luckily, like in music, one of the things about music, like, well, you can keep on going until you can't do it. And you kind of know when you can't, a point where like, well, I'm not really hitting it no more. It's like, to me, it's like the whole thing is like, if it's not fun, part of being, doing music was like, it's something I do because I love it. If I suddenly decide I don't love it anymore, then I'll stop. That's the way I look at it.
I love when I see people like you who found the thing that you love. Like I see how passionate you are about music, bro. I love passionate people.
But I think people have to find something. It's hard for me. Like I tend to be around a lot of creators, and if I'm around people who aren't creative, it's kind of hard. It's weird because like we have a different mindset. Because like every day, like I'm around in my studio with all my stuff. I got all my keyboards and stuff right behind me, and we're kind of like Hendrix used to sleep with his guitar, and I got my keyboard sitting right by my bed. And the idea is like when you really love it, it's like that close to you because that is really like the essence of who you are, and it just feels natural, and it's not like you're just doing it and then take 7 months off and you never touch your guitar. Like there's some people like they do it and I'm like, why are they doing it? Because then they just drop it and then they don't come back to it. And I'm kind of like, it's like a part of me, and it's a different type of thinking. It's like when somebody's really into like a painter, they're like into it like that, or a writer. They can't stop because they keep on getting the idea. And so once you're in that kind of creative space, whether you're an actor, a writer, painter, or whatever, photographer, you just see something, you're going to photograph it, you're going to draw it, you're going to feel it because that's your nature.
Here's my every morning. So I thought social media was negative, but if I were to post that on social media, I would just be contributing to the problem. So every morning, the only thing I post on social media every morning, I do my gratitude journal, and then I post a morning affirmation. And this morning's affirmation, whatever you just said just now, triggered that. Moderation leads to mediocrity.
Yeah, I believe that.
Obsession leads to greatness.
It's about practice. If you think about a musician, we practice probably at the level, we practice like the way an athlete practices, like what you do, right? A musician to stay at their chops, right? To still have the piano capability or to have a sax capability or violin capability, you have to constantly stay in tune or tone in terms of your capability, right? So it's like the level of fitness. Like a musician has to stay at a certain level of fitness within their instrument.
Sharp.
Yeah, if you don't, then you lose it. And you want to lose it and always have to get it back, or you just want to always kind of be in the zone. I've always kind of put myself where I just want to be in the zone.
That thing, like, so if you spar every day and you're sparring and constantly, maybe 3-4 times a week, you're sharp, you're firing. And if you take a month off, it takes a month to get back there.
Yeah, it's like that with music. But to me, I mean, some people say, "Oh, I get it right back," and I've been with people and they didn't get it right back. like in practice, we got to go over it and over it and over it and over it because they lost their chops.
Yeah.
And they think they can get it back, but it takes them a long time to get it back.
You don't realize, because your brain will lie to you and you're like, no, I got it. But when you finally get to the place where you're sharp again and you can be like, oh, I'm so much better than I was 3 weeks ago. You can be honest with yourself. Here's a random thought that probably has nothing to do with anything. I was thinking about this. Other than money, our number one currency in society is something that is a renewable resource, yet we don't want to give it away. Social media likes.
Oh, yeah.
It costs nothing to like a picture. Like, it costs nothing like a photo. And we scroll. Everyone's scrolling all day, but how often do they like? We are selfish with our like.
Yeah. I've always pointed that out. Like, I always tell people, like, I'll have somebody like watch like 5,000 views of a Facebook podcast, but 15 people hit the like. It's like you took 5,000 views and only 15 of you hit the like. Really? It takes you that much effort. And it's the same thing with, like, if you're on Spotify or Apple or whatever, people will listen and then they don't hit the like or they don't hit the favorite, and it really within the industry, they credit the likes. They credit when you subscribe. Like, so if you're on somebody's YouTube channel and you don't subscribe, you're not really helping them, right? You need to actually hit the subscribe because that's how you monetize. So you can't monetize unless you get like 1,000 subscribers. And you get thousands of people coming in, and then people don't hit the subscribe.
So while I have your attention right now, go subscribe to this man's stuff. I don't have to subscribe to right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's always important because it's like, that's the big measure for people. For musicians, a lot of times we got to get people to like playlists, actually download it, even if you're not going to buy it. Just if you, then the industry gives us the credit. If you don't show the interaction, and then it just becomes like vaporware. We don't really get the credit to do that.
Yeah. So on that same topic, so I'm an artist as well. I'm constantly traveling around the country. I've been on the road. I've spent 9 nights in my bed so far this year. I'm on the road over 80 days so far.
Like a touring musician.
Yeah, touring musician. I'm touring right now. I'm touring for the next. I'm on a 6-month tour, but I go to all these different restaurants, and every restaurant I go to, I take a picture of the food, and I give a 5-star review. If you don't deserve 5 stars, I don't leave a review. Because
that's a really cool thing. I think restaurants would appreciate that.
as artists, and I think as small business owners, as artists, because there's no science to music.
Yeah,
like to that feeling. There's no science to art.
It's an art. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, if you're a cook, it's kind of an art. Like the fact that you get it when you're the best cooks is like they're artists. Because they just know how to do it, and they can try to describe it and try to teach the people. But it's like really you got it or you don't. Like when you're with a musician, and when I'm with a group, like if I have to tell you the chords, then I'm kind of like, I don't know if I'll be playing with you again. Because like the way I play is like
it's a feeling.
Yeah, you play it, and then the other guy, if the bass player picks it up, and I don't have to tell him. I've run into guys like, what key is that? Well, what are the chords? And I'm like, really? Like, because most of the time, the people, when you click with a musician, you don't have to tell them. They just know it. They just feel it. And it's like, I'm a feel-based guy. So I'm kind of going to judge you if you come in and I don't have to tell you, then I know that it's right.
Yeah. I love vibing with people though.
Yeah, that's the way it is. I mean, it feels. I mean, I've had to work with some people that are like, okay, I gotta tell them because they're a classical musician. That's been one big thing. I was really surprised that classical musicians, because they're so much on the sheet, reading the sheet, they have a real hard time playing with jazz guys or like guys who do kind of jam band type of guys. They don't know what to do unless it's written down. And because they're always thinking that, they're not the composer. And I'm like, you're such a high level player and you can't just figure it out, but they can't.
Well, I guess maybe I apologize. I just misspoke. I said there's no science to music, but they found the science to music, but not the art to it.
Yeah, I think that's the problem.
And you're an art guy.
Yeah. It's like that's why jazz is like I like jazz, man. That's the form because it's got the complexity of classical music, but the freedom of kind of heart and soul. So you when you and that's the way like these guys can go toe to toe with any classical musician, but they can do something they can't do. They can improvise at a level that they can't do. They can do a little bit within the range of Beethoven, but they don't really go too far outside of Bach, and they don't do it. They stay within the confines of that piece. Jazz musicians can go way out of that and come back. They can go into cacophony and then come back and then go back into a melody and go into cacophony and go back and forth and with like ease, and it's not hard. It's just feel. They all feel, and that to me is like that's life. Life isn't predictable. Sometimes, like you have to roll with the punches. You roll with a mistake. You roll with somebody makes a mistake, but you turn it into an epic. And that's the thing about a jazz musician. You can do a miscue and go off and do something beautiful, where somebody else would say, "We got to start again," and we don't.
My boxing style would mimic jazz. It's unpredictable. If you looked at it on paper, it does not make sense. But there was an art to it. I never had a plan because if I don't have a plan, it can't go wrong.
Yeah.
My only objective was to frustrate my opponent, and I would be all over the place. I'm real people call me awkward, but there was a method to the madness. And if you watch it knowing what my method was, it was just to slip punches and get people to swing wild shots. And the more awkward I am, the more awkward it forces them to be. And if they're doing awkward movements, they're going to get tired faster.
Yeah, because you're not predictable. If you become predictable, then they can zone in on you. Yeah. And then and then you're gonna get out. But yeah, this has been a great reaction. We're hitting upon the hour. This always goes by quicker than I ever think. But it's great to have you on the podcast. I think it's just the natural conversation I like to have on these podcasts. We never know where it's going to go, but I think you've been an awesome guest. I want to tell people again about your website, www.camfawesome.com, camfawesome.com. Go and check that out. It'll be clickable when we're fully published. And again, what can people find there when they go there?
You can find my social media is at camfawesome. You can see some of my speeches on there as well. If you're looking for a speaker, please reach out if you have any questions, or you agree or disagree with anything I say and have a different perspective. I love talking to people who don't agree with me. I think that's a lost art because that's how I learn perspective and I get to view different things. So yeah, thanks for listening. And by the way, I love your energy, bro.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, I'm trying to still have it after so many episodes, but like I find it invigorating to do this podcast because I really don't know what's going to happen, and I like to have the free form kind of conversation that we've had on this show since 2016, and we feel very blessed to have the people come on that we have come on. You've been a great guest, and thank you for being on the Family Electric Go show. And everybody will be able to see this and hear this on any platform they're into. We'll send you the landing page tomorrow. You can share with the audience, and then they can choose how they want to watch or listen to it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you again. Thank you.